Hi students, today I am going to explain what is circulatory system for class 8. So in human beings, various substances such as digested food, oxygen, hormones, excretory products are transported to relevant organs and tissues through blood and lymph. So through blood and lymph, so many products of digested food, oxygen, excretory products, these are all transported. So circulatory system performs the function of transportation of substances in our body. So this circulatory system helps us to transport the substances in our body. This is of again two types: blood vascular system and lymphatic system, according to which the type of substance is transferred. So in blood vascular system and lymphatic system, different types of substances are transferred. Let's see the parts of the circulatory system. And first, blood vascular system. So blood, what is its composition, what is its function? Let's see. So blood means it is a fluid connective tissue. So it will be in a fluid form which flows through all the blood vessels throughout the body, and blood will have a fluid matrix called plasma. So this plasma is a colorless liquid which contains a lot of water along with many proteins also it contains. So when we think of blood, we can know, so it is a liquid form, fluid form which flows through all the blood vessels throughout the body, and it contains a liquid matrix. Why it is a fluid or liquid? Because of containing some matrix called plasma. This plasma is a colorless liquid. It contains so much of water and proteins. So and again, blood consists of three kinds of cells: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So what are the functions of blood? We'll see. The main functions of blood are: blood is the vehicle for metabolic communication between the organs of the body. So between all the organs of the body, there will be a communication, there will be a transportation of substances. So it acts as a vehicle for the communication. So blood transport nutrients from small intestine to the liver and other organs. So when we eat food, so what happens? All the nutrients from the small intestine will be transported to all the parts of the body. The energy is transported to the liver and all the other organs by means of blood. It also transports waste products to the kidneys for excretion also. So see here, blood is transported. So digestive system, food is transported like this, and the wastes are also transported. Even nutrients, wastes, oxygen, carbon dioxide, these are all transported through the cells, body cells. And endocrine system, hormones will be transported, and in the respiratory system, oxygen, carbon dioxide is transported. Like this, it will circulate throughout our body to transport so many substances. Even the blood transports oxygen from the lungs to the tissues and CO2 generated during the respiratory mechanisms to lungs back. So like this, the main functions of the blood are explained. Next, what is the role of blood in oxygen transport? Let's see. So we know that respiration is a process in which the oxygen is inhaled and carbon dioxide is exhaled. So blood transports these gaseous compounds through hemoglobin present in red blood cells. So hemoglobin is a compound globular protein which is present in a red blood cells. This hemoglobin will carry the oxygen through respiration. So in lungs, where oxygen is present in higher concentration, so when we inhale inside, the oxygen will be more in the lungs. So hemoglobin combines with this oxygen, forming oxyhemoglobin. When the hemoglobin combines with oxygen, it is called oxyhemoglobin. In tissues where oxygen content is low, so in the lungs oxygen is more, but in the tissues of the body the oxygen is low. So what happens? This oxyhemoglobin dissociates and release oxygen for use in respiration reaction. So this oxyhemoglobin, while carrying into the blood, it will reach into the tissues where the oxygen is less. That's why it will carry to all the body parts where the oxygen is less. That's like that, all the body parts the oxygen is carried out. Then what are blood transfusions and blood groups? We'll see. Transfusion means transferring of blood. Yes, no, transfer of blood from a healthy person who is giving the blood is called donor to another person called recipient, and it is called blood transfusion. So blood of different people will have different characteristics. So before transfusion, Before transfusion of blood, we should check the blood. So people's blood of different people will have different characteristics. So before transfusion, the bloods of both the donor and recipients are to be matched. So how it is matched? So the blood matching is based on the two factors. What is that? Blood group and the RH factor. So based on the antigen present in the R blood cells, the human blood is classified into four groups. We know that A, B, A and B both, and no antigen. So and blood group A, so contain antigen A, blood group B contain antigen B, and blood group AB contain both antigens, and blood group O contains no antigens. So these blood groups are inherited from the parents. So from the parents these blood groups are inherited. So RH factor is another factor I told. It is another antigen found on the surface of red blood cells. So on the surface of red blood cells, we will see what antigen will be present. People having RH factor on their blood are considered as RH positive. So who contain this antigen? Positive. Who don't contain? Negative. RH negative. So A positive means antigen A is present and they contain a RH factor antigen on the surface of the red blood cells. They are called A plus. Or if they contain blood group B and antigen is present, it is called B positive, like that. Then see, antigens are the foreign invading molecules which include certain responses on their entry in the body. Say a bacterium, virus, or a foreign protein can act as a antigen. So A antigen, so present on the blood type A, B antigen on blood type B, and AB both on blood type AB. No antigens in blood type O. So like this, the antigens are present on the surface of the red blood cells. So RH minus means no antigens. So like this. Next, after the matching, the blood group is found and it can be transfused in the body of the recipient. Then let's see. So A blood group, so can donate, so the person who contain A blood group can donate blood to A and AB and can receive from A and O, and the B group containing person can give blood to B and AB person and can receive from B and O. So AB containing person can donate to a person having only AB and can receive from all the groups, and O, so it can be donated to everyone, but he can receive only from O. That's why O, so he can donate to all groups. So he is a universal donor. And AB, he can receive from all the persons from all the groups. So he is a universal recipient. Recipient means who can receive the blood. So like this we can tell. Then during blood transfusion, following precautions must be observed. The blood group of the donor should be matched with the blood group of the patient. So without matching, we should not transfuse. Needles should be sterilized, should be used during blood transfusion. Needles should be sterilized or else infections will be carried out. Then blood of the donor must be tested thoroughly for any infection. So before transfusing the blood, it should be checked for any infection, whether HIV is there or not, like this, virus is there or not. And then antibodies are the molecules produced by the body in response to an attack of antigens. So for example, antigen is there, in response to this antibody will be produced. So here see, antigen A is there, in response B antibody is produced. If B antigen is there, A antibody is produced. So AB antigens are there. So no antigens, AB antibodies are produced. Like this we can say. And high blood pressure, commonly called hypertension, is a problem. So why it is occurred? Because the force exerted by blood against the walls of the blood vessels. So blood circulation around the body, how the blood will circulate. So the impure blood, so impure blood means blood which contain carbon dioxide. So from all the different parts of the body enters the right auricle and then sent to the right ventricle. Let's see in the heart diagram. So where it is. arteries. So it will first enter into the right auricle and it is sent into the right ventricle. From here again the blood is pumped through the pulmonary artery to the lungs for again reoxygenation. So in lungs this blood gives up carbon dioxide and again oxygen will be inhaled. This oxygenated blood again goes to the left auricle through the pulmonary vein and enters the left ventricle. From here the blood is pumped through aorta to different parts of the body. So as the blood passes through the capillaries, oxygen and other nutrients are delivered to the cells. The carbon dioxide and other wastes are picked by the blood. This deoxygenated blood goes back to the again right auricle. So very simple, carbon dioxide mixed with blood, that is called deoxygenated blood, goes into the right auricle and from there to right ventricle, and from the right ventricle the blood is pumped to the pulmonary, it will go to the lungs. Again here exchange will take place, carbon dioxide will be exchanged with the oxygen, carbon dioxide will go outside and oxygen come inside, and from there the blood goes into the left auricle through the pulmonary vein and again it will go into the left ventricle, and through the aorta this oxygen will be pumped to all the body parts. Like this the circulation takes place. Then how is heartbeat, what is a heartbeat and pulse? Let's see. So the pumping of the blood by the heart can be heard as a regular thumping sound. So this pumping of the blood which is pumped will be having some thumping sound and it is called heartbeat. Each time the heart pumps the blood out, it rushes through the arteries and produces a twitching movement called pulse. So whenever the heart pumps the blood will go very fastly, rushes through the arteries and it will produce a movement, twitching movement. So each beat of the heart causes a pulse in the artery. This pulse can be felt at various areas in our body like inner wrist, neck, temple, etc. So doctor listen this heartbeat by using a device called stethoscope. We know that. Then blood vessels. So you have learned that blood transports the required substances to various organs. So this blood flows in some tube-like structures called blood vessels, and these blood vessels are of three types: arteries, veins and blood capillaries. Let's see what are arteries. So these are thick walled blood vessels which carry oxygenated blood from heart to various organs of the body. So from the heart the blood which is mixed with oxygen, so to all the body parts it is carried out. The pumping activity of the heart produces jerks in the artery during blood flow. As blood enters into the artery it expands. So what happens? So due to the pumping the artery will have some pressure and it will make some jerk. So due to this it expands. When blood flows out of the artery it contracts. So the arteries it will contract, relax. Yes, no, it will make jerks. So the walls of the artery are very elastic. So they are very elastic so that expansion and contraction will take place through a narrow lumen and deeply seated in the body. So it will be very deep in the body. So the pulse is felt with the help of some arteries which are not deeply seated. We can see the pulse here because they are not very deep inside our body. Then next is veins. These are thin walled blood vessels which carry carbon dioxide blood, deoxygenated blood from various parts of the heart. Blood flows smoothly without any jerks because it is just carrying out to release carbon dioxide outside. So veins will have wider lumen. So compared to arteries, they have very wide lumen. So and walls of veins are not as elastic as that of arteries. Arteries will have elastic so that contraction, relaxation takes place and jerks will take place. But the veins walls are thin and not elastic. So narrow, very big lumen, it will just pass off. So walls are also present to the veins to present the backflow of blood and it permits it unidirectional flow. So veins are seated superficially in the body. So veins we can find on the upper parts of the body. Even after the death of a person also veins are full of blood. So we can see the green color veins on our skin or on our palms, right? And then what is the difference between arteries and veins? We see these are thick wall. Arteries are thick walls and veins are thin walls. Blood flow very fastly. In veins, blood flows slowly. Why the blood flows fastly? Because they will be having very narrow lumen, where veins have broad lumen. And in the arteries, the walls are elastic, and veins walls are less elastic. So arteries are very deeply seated in our body. We cannot see it outside, only in some regions we can see. But here veins we can see outside only. Superficial blood flows with jerks, with pressure. But here blood flows very smoothly, and there are no walls present in arteries. But in veins the walls are present, and here arteries carry oxygenated blood, whereas in veins carry deoxygenated blood. So except pulmonary vein, here except pulmonary artery. The last type is capillaries. Capillaries are the thinnest blood vessels. They have single layered wall and form a mesh or network inside the body. And so these are the capillaries. It occur at the terminals of arteries and veins. At the end of the arteries and veins, it will only like branches cut into and form small branches called capillaries. The walls of capillaries have extremely small pores through which exchange of food materials, gases, wastes takes place. So the flow of blood through these capillaries is extremely slow, very slow it will be. And so to provide time for exchange of materials, so it will have so much of time to exchange the materials. After the death of the organisms, there is no blood in artery, while the veins are full of blood. After dying, so what happens? Arteries will not have any blood, but veins have full of blood. Some plasma also filters out of capillaries and forms a part of tissue fluid. So white blood corpuscles come out of the capillaries to fight for infections. We know that. So when any infection happens, white color fluid will be coming outside, that is coming from capillaries to avoid that infection. And this is called diapedesis. Then last is heart. So it is very important organ of circulatory system. It lies in the chest cavity, just between the lungs and a little towards the left side. And it is a conical muscular structure which pumps the blood for its circulation. So we know that the size of the heart is equivalent to the fist of a hand. So heart rests obliquely upon the diaphragm. So we know that a muscle present below the chest cavity called diaphragm. So this on that diaphragm heart will be present. It is enclosed by a filled fluid called pericardium. So the heart is filled with a fluid called pericardium. So the main function of the pericardium is to protect from jerks and shocks. So it helps to allow frictionless movement. So we'll see the parts of the heart. Heart consists of 4 chambers. We know that 2 upper chambers and called arteria, singular atrium, and they receive blood from large veins. 2 lower chambers called left and right ventricles. So they transport blood to the lungs and entire body. So these chambers are separated by partitions. So there are 4 chambers in our body. So left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle. So 4 chambers, and they are separated by septa. So the separation is called septa. And so between left atrium and left ventricle, so between left atrium and left ventricle are valves. So are valves between right atrium and right ventricle also. These valves permit the flow of blood from atrium to ventricle and not in the reverse order. So always the blood flows from left atrium to left ventricle, not from left ventricle to left atrium. So it will not go up, it will only come down. So like that the valves are present to control it. So heart is made up of special muscle cells called cardiac muscle fibers. So the heart of a person beats all the time throughout the life, and there will be a rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles, which helps on working all the time without fatigue. Because of this rhythmic contraction and relaxation, it will not get tired. So it will be working throughout our life. The division of the heart into 4 chambers prevent the mixing of. So why there will be a division of 4 chambers? So that mixing of oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood will be prevented. So the chambers of heart are named as auricles, atria, ventricles, ventria. So auricles are smaller in size and have thin walls. These auricles are small and have very thin walls, and auricles, ventricles are large and have thick walls. A transverse groove called coronary sulcus will be present, which separates the auricles and ventricles. Another groove called interventricular sulcus occurs between two ventricles longitudinally. So between two ventricles and also two auricles there will be a groove separation will be present. So thus two auricles are separated by each other by intra-auricular septum, and two ventricles will be separated by intraventricular septum. So a number of valves also operate in the heart to regulate the flow of blood. So when the blood oxygenated blood, and this is deoxygenated blood, blue color deoxygenated blood, this is oxygenated blood. Then there are a tricuspid valve. So tricuspid valve we can see here. So which guards the opening of right auricle into right ventricles. It helps in the to flow the blood from right auricle to right ventricle. It has 3 flaps. That's why tricuspid. And bicuspid valves, left auricle to left ventricle. So 2 are there. So right. Then it has 2 flaps. Semilunar pulmonar valve, which regulates the opening of right ventricle into pulmonary arch, and semilunar aortic valve, which occurs between left ventricle and aorta. So semilunar valve here we can see is no. Then the heart beats all the time throughout one's life. Heartbeat is due to rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles. When muscles of all the 4 chambers of the heart are relaxed, blood from large veins called vena cava pour into the first right atrium. This blood in the vena cava have very little amount of oxygen. It comes out of the tissue which has used up all the oxygen. So what happens? Because of the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heartbeat occurs. So all the 4 chambers of the heart are relaxed. Then blood from the large veins called vena cava. So this blood don't have more oxygen. So because all the oxygen is used by the tissues. So pulmonary vein from the lungs pours oxygenated blood into the left atrium. So from the lungs, the oxygen mixed with the blood comes into the first left atrium. Next, the atria contracts. Due to atrial contraction, the right atrium pours deoxygenated blood into the right ventricle, and the left atrium pours oxygenated blood into the left ventricle. So like this, the ventricles contract and form the left ventricle. Oxygenated blood is distributed to all the parts of the body and through a large artery called aorta. So from the right ventricle, the deoxygenated blood flows to the lungs, and there carbon dioxide is exchanged, and the oxygenated blood again comes back to the heart. So from this, oxygenated blood is distributed to all the parts of the body. Like this, the blood is flowing 2 times through the heart, and that's why it is called double circulation. So it is evident that blood circulates through both veins and arteries to reach each and every organ. So very efficient method for thermoregulation in mammals, means body temperature is maintained correctly in mammals because of this double circulation, and the blood is circulating through both veins and arteries to reach every organ. So here we can see oxygen rich blood, rich carbon dioxide poor blood, and oxygen poor carbon dioxide rich blood. So this is carried out 2 times. Then detection of normalcy of heartbeat and pacemaker. So the muscle fibers of the heart are specialized at certain parts of the heart to generate electric currents. So in the muscles of the heart, they are very specialized to produce some electric currents that cause normal rhythmic heartbeat. So an instrument called electrocardiograph will record these electrical changes during heartbeat. This graphic recordings we can see, and it is called ECG or cardiogram. When a patient has a heart problem, ECG is first done, and this graph will indicate where is the area of malfunctioning. So which function is not done correctly or it is failure. Treatment can be given accordingly. So the sudden stoppage of pumping of blood by heart due to failure of contraction of muscles is called cardiac arrest. So cardiac arrest, or what is cardiac arrest means? Suddenly the pumping of blood will be stopped by the heart because the contraction of muscles. So the person will become unconscious and the abnormal breathing will take place in an emergency situation, and even it can lead to death also. It's a symptoms of loss of consciousness, pain in the chest, short breath, nausea. So these are the symptoms of that. So you must have also heard about a machine called pacemaker, so which is inserted into a heart patient. So in the heart patient, so this pacemaker is a one machine which is inserted, whose heart does not beat normally. This pacemaker machine is inserted. The machine will take place the specialized muscle cells function and initiate heartbeat, which is patient has stopped functioning. So next, what is lymph? So we talked about blood, then lymph. So lymphatic system is a parallel circulatory system in the body. So lymph is also a circulatory fluid in the body. Along with the blood, lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries. They join together to form large lymph vessels. So these lymph vessels are containing lymph glands, lymph nodes. So what is lymph? I am telling, it is a light yellow colored viscous fluid, so which contain lymphocyte cells. So what is its function? Whenever any infection occurs, so lymph it will come to fight against that. So it always flow in unidirection. So it is formed inside a fine tube called lymph capillaries. So they are highly permeable, means it will be transportation of substances will be very easily. So the tissue secretions can be easily passed across to them into the lymph. So these lymph nodes are seen at places in lymph vessels. There are the sites of lymphocyte maturation. So we can see here. So right lymphatic duct opens in right subclavian vein. So thoracic duct opens into left subclavian vein. Lymph nodes, see, ileum, lacteus drain into lymphocytes, groups of lymphatic nodes. So what is this function of lymph? So I already told it fights against the infections, and it also acts as an extracellular fluid also. So it will return proteins and fluids from circulation to tissues. It even carry digested fat from alimentary canal from pouring into the blood. It will stop the fat from the alimentary canal to go into the blood. So what is the difference between blood and lymph? Let's see. Blood is a red clear fluid and lymph is a light yellow fluid. So viscosity of blood is more, it is very thick, while lymph is very less viscous, and blood contains RBC, platelets and leukocytes, but lymph contains only leukocytes and lymphocytes. So blood will flows very fastly, but lymph flows very slowly. So blood flows from organs to heart and heart to organs, that's all. So lymph flows only from tissues to subclavian veins. It will not go to heart. It only flows from tissues to subclavian, all the veins. That's all. Thank you.